get a little applause for a very important person that helped put all this together, Tom Fulmer, one of our dignitaries. And Zachary, thank you so much for starting things off with a history lesson for all of us. I hope many of you were able to dive into Louis Southworth's story, and I want to follow Tom's compliments to all the media that's here and helping get this story out there to the world. And I thought it was interesting what Zachary said about how Mr. Southworth was included in this white settler community, but also excluded. Slavery is a hard history to accept. It's hard to comprehend the inhumanity that defined it, or discuss the violence and ideology that sustained it. We do not like to talk about slavery, or even think about it, much less teach it or learn it. We have an aversion to talking about it. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because of the implications it raises about our past, as well as the present. We miseducate our students because of this discomfort. So I grew up in Waldport. See a lot of my friends, actually some of the guys I went to school with in this crowd. Thank you all so much for being here. It's such an exciting day for the city of Waldport. I actually grew up living across the street from Louis Southworth's property, about 4 miles up the Alsea River on Highway 34. And when I discovered his story was the day they took down the Darky Creek Road sign, which was one of Uncle Lou's most unfortunate nicknames. And I can't believe that I didn't know of this man and his incredible life story. He was, as Zachary pointed out, an important person in Waldport's history. So he was our ferryman. He was a blacksmith. He was often quite the horseman, I want to learn more about that. And he really persevered through a very divided time in our state's history. He donated land for Waldport's first schoolhouse and served on the school board. So it was really something for me to learn of his story, and I instantly felt like, why hadn't I heard this story before? So how many of you here is this Louis Southworth story relatively new for? Right. This guy was a legend. Incredible, right? So, I also want to mention the importance of music to Louis Southworth. He was a man of faith. He was a Baptist, born a Baptist. And I think it's really also a story of how music can bring us together. And thank you to Truman Price. Can we get a round of applause for Truman, who so great to hear some songs from Southworth's time. So when Louis Southworth was told he could not attend the local Baptist church if he continued to play his fiddle, he said, "Was brought up a Baptist, but the brethren would not stand my fiddle, which was about all the company I had much of the time. So I told them to keep me in the church with my fiddle if they could, but to turn me out if they must, for I could not think of parting with the fiddle. I reckon my name isn't written in their books here anymore, but I somehow hope it's written in the big book up yonder where they aren't so particular about fiddlers." So it is just an incredible honor for me to help shed light on Uncle Lou's story. It's probably one of the more satisfying projects in my entire life, satisfying on a lot of different levels. Tom did a great job of thanking so many of the folks involved. I'd like to include in that the entire City of Waldport team, Dan Cutter, who got the grant done for Waldport's Louis Southworth Park, which will be the final place for this statue. It's incredible. We're going to have an ADA accessible playground as part of that park. But I do want to thank my team at OCVA, ACFA, and thank you for being here in person. It's great. And I also want to thank Travel Oregon for the funds to have this sculpture made. And I'd also like to thank the artist who really was so receptive to this idea. I emailed him out of the blue. We had a shared connection with Ken Kesey. I had the pleasure of getting to meet Ken, and I just I knew the piece that he had done for Ken in Kesey Square. I don't know if you guys have seen the bronze piece in Eugene. Ken Kesey reading a book, kids. Yeah, it's a great piece of art. And he told me he was at a point in his career where he could pick and choose the projects he wanted to do, and it would be an honor for him to do this project. And he was so supportive from the beginning. And so this is not just a celebration of Louis Southworth and his incredible story, but it's also a celebration of the life and career of artist Pete Helzer. So I would like to bring up the living legend himself, Pete Helzer. Pete, are you out there? Pete is joined today by his daughter Allison. He'll be playing some music later, and I'll let you introduce Allison. But thank you all so much for being here. This is such an exciting day. And please, Pete Helzer, come on up here.